Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of The Wrong Podcast Died. Tubi appendages.
Wanna go to the movies.
I like it spooky.
It's October, and we are in for some treats from our co-host Rod. He's got 5 categories again.
5 categories once again.
10 movies.
I got my recommendation, and then I got the movie I need to check out.
Let's get to some spooky, non-spooky movies for October, and then in a couple days we'll bring you the spooky stuff. So what you got first, Rod?
Okay, we're going back to the action category. And my recommendation is Gone in 60 Seconds from 2000, starring Nicolas Cage, Angelina Jolie, and directed by H.B. Halecki and some dude named Scott Rosenberg. Synopsis: a retired car thief is forced out of retirement in order to save his brother's life.
Was this kind of like the kickoff to the whole Fast and the Furious thing? Was this before Fast and the Furious?
I feel like Fast and the Furious was like maybe late 90s.
So this would have been before, right?
Yeah, so yeah, then you get like 12 Fast and the Furious movies.
Which I've maybe seen 1 or 2 of them. I've seen bits and pieces of some. It just is a car to me, it gets you from point A to point B, usually from my house to my work.
What I need to watch for action is Smoking Aces from 2006, starring Jeremy Piven, Ryan Reynolds, and directed by Joe Carnahan. Synopsis is Buddy is a Las Vegas performer turned snitch who has a bounty out on him that everyone would like to collect.
I've not seen this one either.
I've heard of it, but that's about it.
They did the play on Vegas with cards and, smoking gun and all that stuff, so... Give me something else.
We're going to change it up a little bit this month. We're going to look at the category they gave us for black cinema. Recommendation, The Nutty Professor from 1996.
I'm thin! Look at my cheekbones! I have cheekbones! Look at my cheekbones! Yes! Look at my chest! Look at my breast! Oh, I don't have breasts!
Starring Eddie Murphy and Jada Pinkett Smith, and is directed by Tom Shadyac. Synopsis: Professor Sherman Crump creates a potion that turns him into the handsome but obnoxious Buddy Love.
And this was the prequel to The Clumps, and then what was that show with Urkel on it? Remember how Urkel got that?
Was it
Family Matters?
Yeah, I think maybe Family Matters, yep.
But, Urkel at one point had come up with that serum that turned him into Stefan. That was a fun show. Family Matters was a fun show. And I've seen some videos where people are like the dad from that, and they trace it back to...
Die Hard.
Yeah, Die Hard. So I was like, it all makes sense now.
It does. Yeah, what I need to check out is Guess Who from 2005, starring Ashton Kutcher, Bernie Mac, and Zoe Saldana, directed by Kevin Rodney Sullivan. Synopsis: Teresa brings her boyfriend Simon home to meet her parents and announce their engagement.
Yeah, and I've seen this movie. It's funny. Who was the female lead?
Zoe Saldana, from Guardians of the Galaxy.
She's stunning. She's beautiful. And Bernie Mac's freaking hilarious. Ashton Kutcher is like the odd man out on this because he's a decent actor, but he's no Bernie Mac.
I've never been a big fan of Kutcher's.
He's from Iowa.
I know. He's an Iowa Hawkeye fan.
Oh, okay. That's why.
My next category is comedy, and my recommendation is The Mask from 1994, starring Jim Carrey, Cameron Diaz, and directed by Chuck Russell. I believe Chuck Russell, didn't he direct a Nightmare on Elm Street movie? The second one, I think. Synopsis: bank clerk Stanley Ipkiss is transformed into a maniac superhero when he wears a mysterious mask.
Yeah, it's fun. It's not my favorite Jim Carrey movie. More of a kid movie, I feel like.
With some adult undertones in there.
Yeah, but maybe one of his more kid movies. No, my favorite Jim Carrey movie is Man on the Moon and The Truman Show. For some reason, I really like when comedic actors can step outside of that box and be more serious.
I need to check it out in the comedy category. I may lose my cinema card here. Step Brothers from 2008. I've never seen this. Starring Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly, and directed by Adam McKay.
Hey, are you awake? Yeah. I hate your guts. As soon as your eyes shut, I'm gonna punch you square in the face.
Synopsis: two middle-aged men still living with their parents are forced to share a room.
You have probably seen more of it than you think just from being online and seeing clips and memes. And I love John C. Reilly. He is one of my favorite actors. He's great in everything, and he's great in this. And of course, he's great in Walk Hard.
The wrong kid
Oh,
died.
yeah. Does that have anything to do with this show?
So next category, the thriller. We have a friend who doesn't like the T word. Screw you, Mike. We love you, Mike. So my recommendation is a movie called Identity from 2003, starring John Cusack, Ray Liotta, and directed by James Mangold. Stranded in a desolate Nevada motel during a nasty storm, 10 strangers become acquainted with each other when they discover they are being killed off one by one.
This is the opposite of what should happen. I think John Cusack should stay in the 80s love rom-com movies.
Oh, you don't like it when he does these kind of movies?
No, I like when he holds up the boombox and plays that cheesy song to that girl. And
Or he gives you his top, 5 or 10 of songs of something, some category from High Fidelity.
wasn't he in that one with the kid too? The kid that wants him to pay for the newspaper?
Johnny.
4 weeks. 20 papers, that's $2 plus tip.
Gee, Johnny, I don't have a dime. Sorry.
Is that him too?
In the thriller category, the movie I need to check out is Death Wish from 2018, starring Bruce Willis, Vincent D'Onofrio, and directed by Eli Roth. Dr. Paul Kersey is an experienced trauma surgeon who has spent his career saving lives. But after an attack on his family, Paul embarks on his own mission for justice.
Well, those sound interesting.
And I've kind of seen the originals, but never this one.
And that's the fourth category.
Yep, that's fourth category. One more category.
Before we get to the last category, something our listeners should check out is our podcast network, the PFPN. And do you have a goofy anagram for this episode? Rod didn't do his homework all the way, so just check out the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, and we'll hear from them. And then we'll get the last category for Tubi Appendages October 2024.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
So now that we've heard from our podcast network, let's get to our last category for this month.
And we got the drama category. This is one that you'll like for my recommendation. American History X from 1998, starring Edward Norton, Edward Furlong, Beverly D'Angelo, because I can't leave her out, and directed by Tony Kaye. Derek is a neo-Nazi who killed 2 young men who were attempting to steal his truck. Derek goes to jail when he learns that not everyone has his back that's supposed to. When he gets out, he finds out that his little brother has fallen in his footsteps of hatred, and now Derek has to change his brother's mind.
Yeah, and it's actually his dad's truck they're trying to steal.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah, his dad was killed in a fire. I think he was shot in a fire. And one of my absolute favorite movies. Very hard to watch, but I think very important.
Completely agree.
And cinema and just in general. One of those movies I feel like people should have to watch and maybe change their ideas of thinking and how they feel about other people that are different from them. Fucking, I cry every time at the end of this movie. I'm not above telling you, at the end of this film, I cry. And if you've not seen American History X, sit down, be ready to get punched in the gut a couple times, but watch this film. It's
in the final, need to check it out. The Imitation Game from 2014, starring Benedict Cumberbatch and Keira Knightley, directed by Morton Tildum. The synopsis is, during World War II, a genius mathematician, Alan Turing, tries to break the German Enigma code while trying to come to terms with his troubled private life.
That sounds interesting too.
And Cumberbatch is usually pretty good in just about everything.
Yeah, and Keira Knightley is usually good in everything too. So some interesting movies this month. Some comedies, some dramas, some thrillers.
That's right. We finally got the T word in there.
Got the T word in there. So we'll have to see if Mike will watch those for us.
And heads up, pretty much every time I have my need to check it out or most of my recommends, they do go away at the end of the month. Keep an eye on them. If you really want to watch them, check it out right away.
And we'll be back in a couple days for our horror movie edition with I Like It Spooky Horror Podcast Tubi. You can check out The Wrong Podcast Died, like, subscribe, check out the I Like It Spooky Horror Podcast. Come back for Appendages. Check out Mishmash with Leah Stalker and Pure Macabre for your Michigan horror happenings. What else do we got?
Keep an eye out for us giving our recommendations on shorts that are coming to us.
Indie Spotlight, the podcast this month, is being pushed back to November because what we want to really cover doesn't come out until later in the month. So we're going to do some short videos covering some short films that we've been offered. So you can go over to our YouTube or our TikTok page, give a subscribe, and watch for those. And hopefully you check some of these shorts out because we're just going along finding some really great short films. And if you're within 1,000 miles of Michigan, go up to Haunting in the Hills and hang out with Clint and go through a haunted house,
haunted train,
haunted everything.
Sounds like a blast.
Yeah, so go check out Haunting in the Hills on Facebook, give them a follow, and we'll see you in a couple days.
Bye.
That marks the end of our broadcast day here at The Wrong Podcast Died. Our transmission is powered by a frequency of 800 watts. We will resume our usual programming in 2 weeks. Until then, we bid you good night.